Congrats on getting beyond 1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of Easy Pay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building, and you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond 1 million.
Today I'm talking to Victor Peña, who in general is just super entertaining to talk to, but also to hang out with. I met him in Mexico a few months ago and found out that he took a printing company where he actually manufactures the printing gear and grew it into a $20 million company, but he did it through some pretty unique means. This interview is great to hear about sort of what I would look at as a boring business model and how he made it fun, interesting, creative, and accelerated growth in it. Also, what he did with the profits and how he ensured that he was going to have wealth moving forward, and a whole bunch of other marketing tips and tricks. So if you want to know how to market your business better, you want to know how to take the boring stuff and make it more fun and interesting for yourself, you're not going to want to miss this one. Victor Peña, it's fucking great to see you, man. It's been a couple months since we met, and I'm excited to have you on the show, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me here. My intention always is to deliver as much value as possible for the audience. And, it's simple. I only talk about stuff that I'm currently doing or I have done and have experience in. So I don't really talk about hypotheses or any of that kind of stuff. So that's how I roll.
I love it. Well, that's kind of the fundamental of the show too, is that I want to make sure that I vet the people on the show so that the audience knows that they're hearing from entrepreneurs that are, excelling in a significant way, because you need to be aware of that stuff to curate the information that you take in. There's too much bullshit out there right now. It's important that you get the messages from the people that are actually doing it. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, even when you see a 19-year-old business mentor, right, on Instagram, you're like, man, how old are you? How many businesses have you done? So that's why I try to just do exactly what I've done and then share that with people so they can go and straight up copy it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and there's it's interesting because there are definitely lessons to get from a young person that, like a super young person that has done something really well, right? Like if somebody is 19 or 20 or 21 and they have managed to create a multi-million-dollar business, there are lessons there. But it all has to be with a grain of salt because there's also a lack of reps, right? There's just a lack of experience. And so when people have been in business for a long time, I hear it differently. Yeah,
100%. What I can share with you, we'll start with, who I am. I'm in Cali right now, and Florida. Cali is our headquarters. We came from Mexico when I was 7 years old. My upbringing was basically kind of like the ultimate training ground, right? And I say that because I want to start there just in case there's people out there that are like, man, I started with a crappy upbringing and all that, and then, I can't do it because of that, right? So came to the States, no English, most Mexicans, we do construction, all right, coming up, and exactly that's what we did. We were in a 1-bedroom with, my dad had 6 kids and my mom, and that's how we started off. And the idea is, after school, the weekends, and any sort of holidays, you're helping out your folks at the job site, right? So that's how I grew up. And then I'm like, man, I gotta straight up go to school because this construction shit is difficult. So, I ended up going for engineering, computers, electronics is my trade officially. And, my current business for 18, 19 years now is creating machines, printers, software, and inks that are used in the modern print-on-demand space where people are selling their merch online first, then they print and ship it. And my technology is used in a lot of that right now. So I built that from zero. We'll do around 20 million this year. And I take all of that income that's left over, and I buy apartment buildings with it. So I like to do stuff that's wealth building, for the future. So that's a little bit about me and my experience. These are the buckets that I live in right now.
I love that. That's super helpful context. Okay, so, and I was going to ask you about size. So I love the revenue benchmark. It's interesting because I grew up in a place where you didn't talk about money. Like my parents told me there were a few things that you weren't supposed to talk about. Politics and money were at the top of the list. And as I've gotten deeper into business, I find that the middle class and upper middle class are conditioned to not talk about money. And the upper class, the wealthy, are very often very open about money. And there's certainly a category and certain types of people that like to be private no matter what. But I roll in a circle of entrepreneurs they're all very comfortable dropping stats, talking numbers, diving in because they're trying to get better. And it's a benchmark of the success of your business to a great extent. So that's super helpful. I want to get back to today, but I want to start with why printing, because today printing the on-demand thing is different, but you started 18 years ago and we didn't have the same functional, like drop shipping, full blown, sell it first and fulfill it later, model mentality infrastructure then. So in 2004, why did you start OmniPrint, or why'd you get into it?
So right out of college, I worked for a tech company right before the .com bust, and I learned a lot of the technology that goes into print engines. Why? You remember being in a hotel and downstairs use the business center, and you're paying an arm and a leg for that print, or you're back in the day when you're printing a boarding pass at the hotel because there's no Wi-Fi. That's the tech I was involved in creating. So I ran into print engines to count the pages and that kind of tech back then. Then we went to the in-room internet, developed like the technology to charge people to be in the room and all that. And what did I see? I saw immediately how fast a tech change will disrupt something, right? For example, in that space, there was no smartphone yet. We still were doing dial-up in these business centers, and then overnight you had the first Palms coming out, that crappy Microsoft phone that I had, but I could get my email in there. I'm like, hey, this is going to change the game. Back in the day, we were charging $20 to $40 for a day of internet. All right, $5 a page for printing. It was really lucrative dough, right? And so we got approached. Somebody said, "Hey, I can do this better," because we had the Marriott, Hilton contract, Adams Mark, a lot of different chains, and I was only the tech side of it. I was the engineering side of it. I wasn't like sales management, none of that. My recommendation was, if I could get online right now, this is going to get disrupted. And my recommendation was, let's unload these contracts, take some chips off the table. And that's what we ended up doing. The reason I'm explaining that is I went into the printing game specifically on textiles because it's a very hard thing to disrupt because you might tech out on some software, hardware kind of things, but the printed garment is something that I saw longevity in, right? I also love the consumable side, the inks, that where every single shirt that's going out has my ink on it, and then I'm making money long term, right? So that's one of the reasons why I went into that. And remember, back then, you have the Googles, the Amazon, like everybody's coming up with a .com thing. So originally, I'm like, man, this is not sexy. This is not sexy at all, but I like the longevity of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super interesting to me because I think about this. I've thought about this actually a lot lately. Like in this moment, I'll see trends way later and think, oh, that actually surfaced to me years ago. And I didn't give it the time. I didn't think it through. I didn't analyze it, or I didn't sort of future pace it to think about what it could be. It just seemed fucking boring. I was like, printers. That's really cool. So you did think about the longevity of it. I also like the consumability of the ink.
So one more thing I want to add, Brad, is that there's a lot of room for innovation. Why? Because digital on demand for textile was about 0.5% of the market share at that point. Right. So there was none of that existed. No software existed to take your job, for example, your print job from your Shopify store or any of that and flow it through production to be able to do real on demand. So we created software and that. So the point is there was more room for me to innovate on a super solid like dinosaur type of industry.
Yeah. Okay. I want to hear kind of the trajectory here. So am I right? Did it start in 2004? Is that the beginning?
Yeah, that's when I started kind of the process of like the machine engineering, finding a manufacturer, all that stuff. That took some time. My incorporation date formally was 2008 because I was making money and I needed to do something with it.
Sure.
But basically, 4, 5, 6 are probably the main like startup years.
Got it. And how did you start? So it sounds like you manufactured your own machines, or did you buy other people's, or what was that process?
So I didn't have that like manufacturing knowledge of the machines themselves. What I ended up doing is through a connection, I ended up flying to Korea to a manufacturer that was making something similar for another application. And I said, hey, look, guys, I was early 20s at that point. I gave them the vision. I said, one day I'm going to be like your biggest customer and all that. And all I need you to do is build this thing for me. And by the way, I don't have that much dough, I kind of put this flight on a credit card, so that's how I did it. I went to meet with these people and like, we're still working together today.
Wow.
Now I'm part owner of that factory. We innovate, we make products together, and our stuff is the only thing that we make out of there now.
Crazy. So how did you just sell them on the vision? How did you secure that?
Yeah, I was just selling them on the vision. I told them, hey, look, this is what we could sell it for. This is the chance that we have. We have, companies that have been around for 100 years. They can't make this happen yet. It's our shot to get into this market. Right now we compete with like Epson, Brother, Ricoh, all these kind of major companies.
Okay, so that's probably a good time to articulate how you make money today, what the revenue sources are, what is the business model today, and was it the same then?
It is very similar. The main difference is that we always have the bigger, faster, higher quality new machine coming out. So it normally takes us about 3 years to develop a new printer. So the business model is we sell the equipment. This is commercial grade equipment that's used in production shops, or if somebody's doing it from home, they print their t-shirts from home. So our business model is to sell the equipment. We train, we support, and then we're shipping customers liters of inks, parts, and consumables every month as they produce.
And your customers are facilities that do the printing?
Yeah. Yep. Facilities that do the printing. They're either a print shop that's established. Maybe they do other types of printing, or it's a Mama 2 with an Etsy store, making 50 grand a month with its wine o'clock shirts, kind of deal. So with this being digital, Brad, it allows somebody to, in their home, start up a business pretty inexpensively, considering, and then just sell online, print, and ship direct to consumer.
Got it. Okay, so you're selling to both the solopreneurs that have figured out how to market something online and allowing them to do the printing and potentially shipping themselves, and then also to larger companies that sort of print as a service.
Exactly.
At what point did drop shipping come into the picture? And so for anybody that isn't, heavily involved in or doesn't know what that means, there's been this big wave of on-demand printing specifically over the last 5-10 years. But now you can collect an order and send it to somebody that can basically print this stuff in almost real time. And they have a facility that they'll print it and then pack it for you and then ship it out to your customer for you. And all of that's just done on demand. But it's a relatively new phenomenon in our lives. When did that start, and how has that changed your business?
Yeah, so we've been leaning into it since around 2013 or so, is when I started developing the software to make that happen, right? Because one thing is the printing device. The other thing is routing an order that's individual with a different image for a different product, different color, different customer, and doing that reliably online, right? So it takes some software to there. So driving that innovation, there's a few companies, us being one of them, that really push this when it comes to the print on demand textile industry, right? So it's been since then, but like a huge accelerator while everybody's seeing it now is what happened with COVID, right? And what happened with supply chain. Typically somebody with a brand, Brad, would order a container full of their designs, and then they'll figure out what sells out of there, and then whatever doesn't, they would unload to a Ross or a discounter or whatever. But there's a lot of waste there. But the thing is they were getting their containers on time. When that stops, guess what? A lot of people's businesses stop. So there's a lot of focus into localized production, that somebody can get their print order right from the States. It's one of one. There's no waste. There's nothing going to Ross. So that's driving a lot of it. Even if it's more expensive, it's actually less expensive. People make more profit because there's no waste.
Yeah, that makes sense. So COVID was an accelerator. In the payment space, what we've noticed, at least on our end, we do processing for quite a few drop shippers, and the ways that you can drop ship are also wildly different, right? Some people are drop shipping products from China, and then there's this huge delay in how long it takes to get the product. But now drop shipping on demand from the States has become more popular, but we've seen it accelerate as sort of Shopify has come into its own and become a stable platform to facilitate, or other, I mean, Shopify is obviously a huge one, but there are other e-commerce platforms as well that we work with that do that. Did any of that contribute on your end? Did you see that wave happen on your end?
Yeah, so we saw it happen a lot. The main difference is, for example, drop shipping. There was a stigma with people doing it that have no control of the product or the delivery. Mm-hmm. But it was super hype, right? You could say, hey, I'm gonna do $100,000 a month by doing drop shipping. And what happens? I'm pretty sure you saw it on your side. People can't deliver, chargebacks, bam, 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 right?
You got it.
Yeah. So what happens with our craft is very different. You have a slew of online stores. You have designers making designs that they're fully behind. So the delivery of the product is very important. So we never had like a, hey, these are coming from China kind of deal. It's all localized and the stuff that we've been pushing. Where we focused is we actually lowered the cost per print for somebody to balance out. Let's say, for example, a t-shirt blank or a hoodie blank is more expensive here than you can get in China. But we took control and formulated our own inks, our own chemicals for the machines. And, my commitment to our customers is to give them a good quality print, but also a great cost per print so they can make money, right? So we didn't see a lot of that hype happen when it came to the traditional drop shipping, because our creators are so like, they're designers, they're these kind of people that need to touch their product before they allow it to go out.
What percentage of your buyers are direct solopreneurs versus shops?
Yeah, so there's about 60% of our buyers are new solopreneurs starting off. They're a big chunk, and we focus on a lot of education where we show them how others are winning and how we can grow them to their second machine, their third machine, and turn them into big shops. So we've seen a lot of people become millionaires. We sometimes we call ourselves like we create millionaires, but the reality is these people hustle. They make designs. If one fails, they make another one. And they with the technology, they have freedom to do that.
Wow. So 60% of the print machines that you sell go to individuals that have their own business?
Yep. Or they're starting up.
Crazy. And what's the price point on those? What's the range?
About 25 grand is the average selling price of a package.
Okay.
And then it goes from 50, and then our biggest one is 250 grand for a big shop.
Man, so if I'm doing this personally, I'm thinking, fuck all that. I want to give it to a shop that knows how to do this and can pack it for me and ship it for me, and it's one less thing for me to do. Why is such a big chunk? Why are such a big chunk of the entrepreneurs choosing to do that themselves? I mean, is it that much of a cost savings, or is your education that good where you're just teaching them how to do this thing themselves?
Yeah, it's a combination, right? Number one, yeah, it is the education to get them rolling, but also your cost per print is way less if you do it yourself and you control your quality, right? So there's a lot of big fulfillment centers out there that they need to pump stuff out at a certain speed and a certain quality, and that's lower than what our users are used to, right? But there's a combination. I'll give you an example. We don't publish this for the general market, but for example, if somebody has one printer and they start doing a lot of volume, we have a discount rate, and we have a fulfillment center here in California where we print and ship for them bigger quantities, because we have our big Cheetah machines that are back there. We can pump them out in an hour. It might take them, a week, right? But we only do that for our own customers or people that are like, hey, you know what? I have this website and I want you to fulfill this website for me. So we're full service when it comes to our own customer base. But they can control quality. The reason they do it themselves, they control cost, right? The cost of production is very low compared to outsourcing. And that's when they make the change.
And what's the rough difference in cost between those two?
Yeah, so the best possible price somebody can get out there for a print is about $6-7. They could produce the same print for about $150
if they do it themselves. So $6-7, let's say, per shirt if you're using a print shop to do it, or $150 if you're doing it yourself.
Exactly. Yep.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, that's a significant difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference, right? But you have to be in that mindset of, hey, I want to grow this internally. I want to take control myself. I want to have a shop. I want to have people, right? There's another side of it. We're like, hey, cool, I'll pay $6 and then I'll chill and do nothing, right?
Right.
The only thing is you got to deal with the quality issues. You got to deal with all that stuff. And it's in somebody else's control.
Well, and it also obviously has to be dependent on how much volume you're doing, right? And what your velocity is. Like if you're doing 100 shirts a month, it's going to take you a long time to recoup 25 grand. It's a few years if you're just doing 100 shirts a month. But if you're doing 1,000 or 10,000, that stacks up real quickly. Yeah,
and plus ROI is pretty nuts. Just to give you an idea, a typical price somebody's selling a tee right now is $24 to $29. That's a custom tee that's printed.
Damn.
Yeah, and
Why are t-shirts so expensive all of a sudden?
right, I know they used to be free, shot out of a cannon.
Right.
That's no longer the case. Just and so people easily are making 10 to 15 bucks profit margin on a shirt. So their typical monthly payment somewhere around 500-600 bucks a month. So when somebody calls us, we're like, hey, what's your volume? Because we don't want to sell to people that can't. They don't have the I guess the knowledge to sell. They haven't sold at least a few per day to be able to have that payment handled and all that. So we train them when to buy as well. So yeah, I mean they can make a really good margin off of it.
At what point did you shift to selling directly to the entrepreneur versus selling to the print shops?
Yeah, so it was there's two main things back in I would say 2007, 08. We started by actually selling to distribution, because that's traditionally how manufacturers sell, right? So you don't sell direct to consumer, you'll sell like to a localized dealer, okay? Similar to the car business, okay? So that somebody can go in, they can go to the showroom, they could go pick up their ink, they could get service from a localized dealer in a state, right?
Hold on, just for clarity. So this is like, in my head, this is like a consumer going to, Office Depot to find a home printer, but the actual companies that make the printers, Brother, Canon, et cetera, are selling them to Office Depot, and then people are going there. And the same thing is true of commercial printers.
Yeah, it is. So in the commercial space, Brad, normally there's like a master dealer for the country, and then there's sub dealers. So there's 2 levels minimum there. So we started selling there. Why? Because I didn't have the techs, I didn't have the sales teams, like I didn't have the scale to sell over the U.S. And then handle it, right? So you would reach out to these distributors. Hey, I have this new technology. You want to take it on? And you're going to make 30-40% margin on it. Okay, cool. That's how we started. But I also leaned in a lot of the marketing side, where we're the manufacturer that had our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, everything like hitting it hard. And at some point, I just stopped selling to dealers, and we started selling direct to consumers. So it's like the Tesla model. They make the car, they have their showrooms, they sell direct, and they control the user data, user experience, all that stuff. Because the internet made everything so close that I didn't need you to be local so I could sell the unit.
So there were kind of 2 steps that I heard there. One is selling to the distributors, which is sort of the archaic structure that the whole world worked by.
Yep.
And then as the internet allowed you to connect with people, there was some step in there where you were still selling to shops, right? You were selling products to shops. Yeah. And then there was a jump direct to consumers, right? Or direct to the solopreneurs, the businesses, as opposed to the print shops, right? 60% is huge. So when did you say, hey, you know what, we should start targeting the end business versus the print shops?
Yeah, so we have like 3 different customer personas that we target. So one is that startup, that second one is that middle range shop, and then the third one is like a big brand, like an Under Armour or a Nike fulfillment center, those kind of things. So those are like the 3 different personas, and that's why we have 3 different products kind of to fit these niches. But the reality is, it's not something that I planned, right? I just wanted to have a product available for each person, whether they were getting into it or scaling. And I think the results of our channels and our educational, our motivation for entrepreneurs, I think that's the reason why we get such a high concentration of people starting a business, because of the type of content that we provide.
And how, like, what year or revenue mark were you where you got very clear on the 3 personas and had the capacity to pursue 3 verticals and create 3 products? I mean, manufacturing these things is I would imagine, not a small task.
Yeah, it's a mission. Next time you're in Cali, I'll give you a tour of our plant over here.
Love it.
But it wasn't. It was the first one, Brad. It was the small solopreneur, or shops that wanted to get multiple machines to scale. I only had one product at the beginning, and that was all the way up to to 2016 or so, where we were just reiterating new versions of the same type of product, and then we came out with the industrial one, the real big one. That took about 4 years of development, and then we developed the mid-range one, and that one we just released last year.
So the first one was the least expensive one that would be palatable to all parties, right?
Yeah,
Except for the huge
exactly.
shops.
And huge shops, they'll buy 50 of these. So because they can, they'd rather have a pod, it's called, of multiple machines producing, where one operator can handle 4 or 5 units, and that's how they do their volume requirements, right? So because there was no big units available either, because everybody's like rushing to create product for this marketplace.
Yeah. So, okay, well, that helps frame it a little bit, because if you've always had sort of this focus, or always had the product that could be sold to the solopreneur or the startup, it would make sense to me that you would get your marketing dialed on that also very early. What year was that roughly? And where were you in revenue when you added that?
We were around 4 million at that point. When I was able to really double down, in my journal, Brad, it was like, hey, create a marketing campaign. That's how much I knew. Okay. And that's when I always say I'm a recovering engineer, right? Turned marketer, because that's when I leaned into, Roland Frazier, Ryan Dice, Jay Abraham, all these crazy, great people when it comes to marketing. And that helped me dial it in where, hey, you know what? I need to create content. I need to get this YouTube channel up, and I need to go to shops, and I need to find influencers. There is t-shirt influencers, by the way, there's influencers for everything. And then we just did videos on how somebody got this machine, and they started making money with it. And then we would show shops winning, and all that. That would go into YouTube, and then we started cutting it up for ads, and we started cutting it up for other types of platforms. And that's kind of how that started, right? With the commitment of knowing that you got to do content in your own space. Otherwise, I'm competing with Epson that has unlimited marketing monies.
Right.
They just haven't figured out social media yet. I think they'll post like once every 6 months.
Sure.
So that's where, after reading this book, Blue Ocean Strategy, I don't know if you've read that one before.
I have, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, well, what could be my blue ocean? It's got to be this educational content.
And so when did you go heavy in that?
This was 2012, 2013, 14, 15, around there.
Wow. Yeah, that's early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's early. That's awesome.
And we have some nasty videos out there from back then, but we didn't have no studio like this. We would just shoot it in our demo room. So it's just that commitment that made me like push through the suckiness of it.
What has changed today in how you operate the marketing team, whether in scale or in messaging, or what do you do differently today in marketing that you weren't doing in 2012, 13, 14?
Yeah, number one, we have to realize that it's always a moving target. But my team knows that our main job is to inspire people out there and bring the message out. Our job is not to be perfect. So I'd rather create a ton of content. We create a lot more content now than we ever did, and I still want to do 10 times as much content. So now we just have more editors, because I don't want them to burn themselves out. And then we're committed to creating valuable content that we could then chop up and be more organized on how we chop it, where does it go, what platforms, and how our users consume it.
And so do you have, I've talked to people that do this different ways, but do you have different editors for the different platforms? So if you're pushing content to LinkedIn versus Instagram versus TikTok, do you have different people that do that, or do you chop it differently?
Yeah, so we'll chop it differently. Our same team, they know, who's looking in each other platform, who's that customer persona that's in there, how long is their attention span, and all that. So like all the guys know how to do that here.
Got it. And what's the overarching funnel? So how do you, if you think about, hey, we're introducing the brand to somebody, or we're getting their attention, what are the steps from that process to selling? Because if the product is a minimum of 25 grand plus the subscriptions, et cetera, I mean, it's not a small purchase for people. What's the process like?
Yeah, so we'll do, we have a few different main, you could call them like main funnel or main lead acquisition systems, right? One is our YouTube organic content, right? And that goes to landing pages that are tracked. We have AdWords and Facebook marketing that goes to landing pages that are tracked. And then from there, we have a sales team that does more of a consultation approach based on what the goals are for that individual. And the target is we need to create 10 leads a day per sales rep, so that they can have meaningful conversations. And then it's very simple. What's your volume look like? What do you need to produce? What are your goals? And then we either match them with our solution, or we say, hey, it's probably better if we do your production for you, or you find someone close by to start off, and start getting those catalysts of selling. Then you'll be able to qualify for your equipment. So that's our sales approach. And the reality is the better that we sell, Brad, the more successful customers are, the lower tech support we have, and the lower failure rate we have for people out there.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So sorry, you mentioned this earlier, but I want to highlight it. So you sell the products and the machines, but you also serve as a print-on-demand facility for anybody that has bought a machine or is potentially going to buy a machine, or can anybody come in and do this?
Yep. No, so we don't publish it right now so that we could have the capacity for our customers. So yeah, it's either you're starting off or you're a current customer. Those are the two main customers that we're fulfilling for right now.
Got it. And so if somebody comes in and doesn't have the volume to buy a machine from you, then is the offer to print on demand for them sort of an entry point to working with you until they have the volume up to be able to buy a machine?
Yeah, it is. And if you look at before, my cheapest entry point is 22 grand. Okay, so that leaves a huge chunk of the leads where they're not fully ready yet. So we created a business in a box program that's at $2,500, and it's a web store. We fulfill for you, and then you start earning rewards for your purchase of your machine down the line. So that's a newer product.
That's super interesting to me. Okay, so one of the things that terrifies me about physical product businesses, specifically when you're dealing with the kinds of products that you have, which require R&D, a long development cycle, heavy manufacturing costs, et cetera, is sort of the operational structure with finance. So, in payments, look, we've got overhead with staff. We've got a full-time development team. We're super tech forward. But we also have recurring revenue, and once things are moving, they're moving. With you, you've got these presumably huge chunks of money necessary to fund new development of products and to just kind of deal with the cash flow element of it. How do you facilitate that, and has that process been challenging over time or changed over time?
Yeah, it does change over time. So I have one key overarching strategy for that is sales cures all. Okay, so I'm very uh, focused on making sure that we're pushing together revenue wise to hit these targets. So, for example, we were talking about money. My team knows every morning where we're at money wise. I'm not shy about saying, hey, this is our break even. We're below it, we're above it. And that makes cash flow transparent in the organization. Because you're right, you need to invest in the future. You need to invest in new products. But the caveat to that is whatever you sell, you got to have a decent margin to handle what the future holds for it, right? So I'm in growth mode. I'm cool with less margin at the beginning if I'm going to be creating new product, but also I don't do the hey give the machine away in hopes of ink model. I got to make my margin on the machine, and then I got to make good margins on the inks, on the parts, on the services, on the trainings, and stuff like that. So um, sales and having different SKUs at different margins is very important. And we're one of the only manufacturers out there that have educational products at high margins. We're the only manufacturer that formulates and creates their own ink at a high margin. Normally others buy them. So there's a couple levels of margin loss there. So a couple of these things have helped in the past, Even I'll share with you our trade show strategies. It's never been about collecting leads. It's always about going there and doing deals.
What does that mean to you? So are you proactively reaching out to people that are going to be at the trade show, booking appointments at the trade show, and then trying to close the deals at the trade show?
Yeah, so I'll give you some context. Our first show, because these are really expensive, we couldn't afford the booth, so we snuck in the machine when the union guys weren't looking, and then we
Wow.
borrowed the corner of a booth from a buddy of mine that had some space, right? And I had put whatever we needed on credit cards, and so since that moment, we have to generate deals right then and there to pay for the huge expense of shows. So what we do is, and that has evolved over time. We just came off of the biggest trade show. And what we do different, Brad, is we'll layer on web events inside our booth. For example, if we have a 3-day show, we'll do a hybrid 360 show in the middle. We'll do a workshop, and then we'll do a like an influencer meetup that's also hybrid. So on the way in, we have a huge list of registered people for this free event. Some which have upgraded to VIP. So not only do we have like thousands of leads already, and we're not even there yet, we also made revenue from the VIP upsells of people that want to learn how to get in the game, or they want to look at it. They want to listen to a speaker that we're bringing on that has done it, right? So nobody in our business does that at all. So there's a full system that we use for that ourselves.
So hold on, let me get some clarity on this. Are you are you streaming a digital event from the show?
Yeah, we are. We have a stage in there. We have fire. We have smoke. We have like a place where people can sit. It's literally a stage inside the booth.
Dope. And you're pre-selling tickets to that event.
Yes.
Amazing. And then also, so you've got these people that aren't at the show for whatever reason all over the world, and you're selling them on probably is the content around learning the business model, learning how to grow a print shop or some store that leverages print?
Yeah, so we'll do like marketing, sales, mindset, and then on demand is maybe this business is maybe 20% because we're assuming you're interested in this business. But I want you to know how to market and sell because you'll become a better customer. So I'll bring these kind of speakers in. They want to see, and if you want to like ask them questions and come on the screen and all that, well, you got to upgrade for that and be a VIP.
I love that. I love that. And then at the booth itself, you said you've got chairs and a stage. And so do you have people how do you get people from the event to come check it out?
So we call this a 360 hybrid. So it means that you're going to tell us you're attending virtual or you're attending live, and then we'll have a spot for you. If you're VIP, you'll be on the front row. So we also have like the Omni girls that are getting everybody that's walking by.
Of course you
giving them the information. We have a raffle where we actually give away a $25,000 printer at the end of the event. And our booth is always jam-packed. People are learning for free. And they get to see some of their favorite influencers and speakers for free. And they get a chance to win a printer, right? So, and we get a crazy amount of attention. And I never want to rely on a show to bring me traffic.
Interesting. So if the show isn't there to bring you traffic, which is what it is for most people, what's the point of the show?
Yeah, exactly. I want to leverage like my list. I want to leverage as much attention as possible so that we can have a very successful show. Because if most of these shows are busy, like you're saying, but I'm adding so many layers of attention and excitement that people want to come in and see what's going on, and now they're gravitating more to our booth than the competitor's booth.
Okay, so then if the point of the show isn't traffic, it is the ability to have all of these people aggregated in one place and leveraging the fact that everybody's in one place. Yeah,
leveraging in one place. They see your equipment. Printing, they're like, oh, wait a minute, I haven't seen this brand before. Let me look into this one versus like I was going to go look at Epson today, right? Then they dive in and they look at our model, which is I'm going to educate you. I'm going to hold your hand. They're like, I'm more connected to this kind of environment, and they'll buy from us. So obviously we always have to make revenue, right? But we're already spending on the booth. My staff is already there, hotel rooms, meals, all of that stuff. We might as well do more, layer more activities onto this event that will raise our sales and lower our cost per sale.
That's great, man. I love that. I find events to be a pain in the ass, and also, a great source of consolidated effort, right? You have a target market in one place, in one fell swoop. You have access to lots of people. And sometimes a conversation at a live event accelerates the relationship 10x what a phone call would.
100%. It's a love-hate relationship, okay? Because before COVID, we're doing 22 shows around there per year. We had 4 trade show booths going across the country at any given time. And that sucks, okay? And my wife was handling all that stuff. And the reality is, so now we do just the biggest shows. We make a bigger impact there. And, we're shipping like big industrial equipment across the country. And it costs easily $250,000 for us to do a show like this, right?
Wow.
So I might as well lead gen on top of it. I might as well sell online. We'll pitch online. So if you're not here at the show special is XYZ. If you want to commit, here's your text number, and it hits every sales rep, and we're closing people that are virtual, and we're closing the live people.
That's awesome. So do you have your virtual, do you have your sales team that's not at the show fielding those calls? Is that the model?
There's some, but no, they're in the event.
Oh, got it. So you have both. Yeah. So you have the people that are local, or the people that are at the event are obviously handling the sales at the event. But if somebody's watching online and they text something or call something, is that going back to headquarters?
Yeah. So no. So it'll go to the sales manager that's at the event.
Oh, really?
And then he's assigning to a rep right then and there that is available to do that call immediately, right? So I don't like the be back or the callbacks. So we have to do all that stuff real time.
Awesome. Interesting, man. That's super interesting. Cool. Well, I know we're coming up at time here, but where can people find out? So where can people find out more about you? And I want to actually frame this because the educational approach is so strong, and I think it's relevant even if you're not in print. I think that's what's fascinating about it to me is like, yeah, at the back end of this is obviously the printer, et cetera, but it's a broad enough net to get people's attention for how to be better in business. That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. And you have to, depending on your marketplace, you have to lean in and figure that out, right? So one of the reasons why I'm in this business, and then I am in like multifamily, and it might seem like manufacturing and real estate, they're boring, but I'm after long-term wealth creation, both in enterprise value for my company and portfolio assets under management with my real estate, right? Because one thing is like hustling, and I know we're getting close, but I'll hit it hard and fast. Okay, one thing is hustling and making money, right? Making revenue, making net profit. But once you do that, you're very exposed as an entrepreneur, where you're going to be like paying so much in taxes that it's not really worth the headache and the risk that you take. For example, my tax basis in California is about 42%. And if you add all the other layers of taxes, I'm probably about at 60.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So my number one thing is generating cash flow and enterprise value, and then moving that to multifamily so that I can take those write-offs. And that's the number one strategy that you guys can do as an entrepreneur is invest in real estate, whether starting with buying your own building where your business is at, and then moving to multifamily from there is what I have done reliably since 2014. That has helped me generate the cash flow, store it, multiply it in real estate, and avoid the rat race of always chasing and always having these huge tax payments, right? So that's my overarching strategy to be able to mitigate that.
I love that, man. Well, we might have to, and we definitely could do a full show on real estate and commercial real estate. But I've talked about it several times in the past on the show. Ultimately, the lever there is cost segregation, right? Like that's the big thing. Is any commercial real estate, you have this huge opportunity to do cost segs, which is one of the largest, simplest ways to knock out your tax liability.
100%. And it's bulletproof. It's fully legal. There's no gray area. My CPAs, I don't like gray areas. I like boring, get rich for sure stuff. Wealth creation, and is the number one strategy. And from there, you have other tools in your toolbox. But if you don't start there, then you're leaving yourself very exposed to a lot of like gray area hacks that you get audited and you're done.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I'll put a link in the show notes to cost segregation for details on that, so people can check it out. And then you and I we definitely have to catch up and drink some tequila and play with printing machines and real estate.
Definitely.
Where do you want to point people to find out more about OmniPrint or yourself?
Yeah, so I'm most active everywhere, right? Omnipresent, but you can reach me on Instagram, Victor_H_Peña, or at OmniPrint International for the brand. And, I just post motivational stuff on there that you can take and have actionable things that you can grow your business with in the areas that I do, real estate and print on demand and mindset. So that's the best place. YouTube also. But feel free to DM me, if you guys are interested in any of that stuff.
Dope. I appreciate the time, man. It's always good to see you. I'm looking forward to next time.
Yeah, likewise. You too. I might have to take this visit over to Austin and visit you over there.
You definitely need to do that, man. We've got a lot of people from California coming to do the same.
I know that.
Awesome. I appreciate you, man.
Likewise.
Love it. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed doing it. I need your help. There are 3 places you can find Beyond a Million: the podcast itself, beyondamillion.com, which has some cool free resources, including a free course, and we finally launched the Beyond a Million YouTube channel. I would love it if you would go there and subscribe. And If you don't want to, you still would probably enjoy seeing the visual content. Check it out, youtube.com/@